Um, Thank you for the introduction. Thank you to the board for that very moving and that's what you get up in the morning to do, a story like that. And then the invitation to be here from Amber. So my talk is gonna be very short, which is great because I know it's only between me and you to stand between lunch. But I have really no disclosures aside from I'm pro-exercise, pro-prevention. I'm a non-EP physician, a cardiologist, non-interventional cardiologist, so just boring cardiology and prevention and sports cardiology types of things. I'm not the founder of HIRO or the leader of HIRO, just a subcommittee of HIRO. What is HIRO? So it's not HIRO, it's HIRO, but like from the TV show, but Hearts and Rhythm Organization is a network of Canadian rhythm clinicians, patients, researchers, families to improve the care of patients and families affected by inherited heart rhythm disorders. It's a national committee. The vision of the committee is to be essentially a center of excellence across the country for persons with inherited heart rhythms. It was initially formed in 2015 by Dr. Andrew Cron, who's the CCS president. Everyone knows who Dr. Cron is, but he'd probably be more fitting to give this talk than me. But and it's the mission is a committed community to innovation and learning, focused on the detection of inherited heart rhythm conditions, provision of best treatments, and protection from tragedy of sudden cardiac arrest. So why am I here? Speaking to you guys, there's centers across the country here. I was, as I I have an interest in sports cardiology, and we presented the guidelines last year, the position statement last year, and this most recent meeting with HIRO was in Kelowna, and Andrew Cron, who's my boss, said, "Do you want to come out to Kelowna and present the guidelines with Dr. Dorian?" I said, "Sure, that sounds fantastic." And it's a very unique meeting. If you haven't gone to HIRO and you have an interest in this, you should definitely go. This year's in Montreal. And I sat down, and there was a tall young woman there who's, I thought my age, but probably 10 years younger. And I thought maybe she's a medical student or a fellow, or didn't know what her role was. And first time ever being to HIRO. And so we're introducing ourselves at the table, and she's like, "Oh, I'm a patient." I was like, "Oh, okay." And the unique thing about HIRO is that it's meetings like this, but interspersed with the meeting, there's actually patients and just not physicians and higher up classes, higher up type people as there's actual patients in the audience that sit at your table. So it's a really, really interesting meeting. But from that meeting, everyone's been beating the drum for AEDs, and I'm a huge supporter and champion of that. I think we all are. Came this subcommittee. So the HIRO objectives: share knowledge, create a community, provide resource connection to patients and families, spread awareness of inherited heart rhythm conditions, and expand research and collaboration. This is our kind of typical view of medicine, unfortunately. We have the researchers up at the top in the ivory tower who think they're smarter than the healthcare professionals who don't actually interact with patients and families. And then on the bottom, we have the patients and families and communities. This is the ivory tower I work in at Vancouver. So this is kind of the approach that HIRO was kind of trying to change. So initially it was, research is in the center, then we kind of branch outwards. I stole this slide from Dr. Cron, and now the object of HIRO is to be more inclusive, a holistic approach. And so when you come to the meeting, there are patients sitting beside you and family members sitting beside you. So I saw this slide by Dr. Cron, but what are we missing on this slide? So what are we missing at this meeting? Well, we all have these great ideas, but we really would be nice to have some government representation and educators. So speaks to the knowledge translation piece, but also to move the needle, we need to be kind of expanding just beyond a bunch of already keen and engaged physicians, healthcare workers who are already reading off the same hymn sheet. So I think Dr. Dorian and Dr. Cron were having a glass of wine in Kelowna, and they said Jimmy should kind of, restart the fire on this active community subcommittee of HIRO. In BC, we've had some other physicians who've tried to get AEDs in schools and have been turned down abruptly, saying, no, we don't want AEDs in schools. It's not something we're interested in. And so we formed this subcommittee. A lot of people in the room are on the committee, Katie and Paul and Nate and Amr. And so kind of overlap. But the committee is just not about, just giving AEDs and putting them outside and making them accessible. Or, it's one thing to give a person a fishing rod, but you have to teach them how to fish, and also where to fish. So we have monthly teleconferences, and we sit together and talk about our goals. So the first goal we came up with is improve access to AEDs, CPR and emergency action plans, education, and then promote safe exercise. I made this diagram on the plane last night. Thought it was kind of related to a CrossFit studio near my house, but that's our kind of the mandate for our active communities goal. So we wanted to bring interested parties together, and I think this is what Amr's meeting is doing at the same time. There's people who are definitely interested and want to progress this further, but are kind of in silos at present. We want to try to change and promote policy in the schools. And, Dr. Poirier has been exceedingly successful in Quebec for getting AEDs in schools, and Manitoba has AEDs in schools. In BC, there's no interest to have AEDs in schools. I know Katie's speaking with the legislature later this week or month to try to bend the ear of the Ontario politicians. Dispel myths and promote AED efficacy, get CPR as a part of the curriculum in grade 9. The Europeans are way ahead of us in this. When you teach CPR to students, you have a lifetime generation of people who are engaged and can provide bystander CPR. Educate to recognize the concerning symptoms and warning signs. A syncope history for me is very different than maybe one administered by a GP or family athletic therapist. So educate not only the public, but also healthcare providers. Encourage physical activity, encourage assessment of risk and treatment of cardiovascular risk factors, lower the risk of our population, and develop educational materials for the public and healthcare providers, and provide a voice. So Nate and I had the privilege of sitting beside each other on the plane. I sat beside Nate and a guy who is bigger than Nate. Nate is 6'8", and a guy who is bigger than Nate yesterday, trying to type with one hand to make these slides. But this is from Nate's hometown in Nelson, the Big Orange Bridge. And so the talk was building bridges. And I'm not sure, I don't think when I envision HIRO and Catch, I don't envision them as separate networks. This is HIRO here. As you can see, I've changed the Queen's logo to Canada to be a bit more inclusive. I went to Western, which is, where's Dr. Pipe? Which is a far superior school in terms of athletics compared to Queen's. Academically, I'll give you Queen's is a better institution, but so we have Catch here, then we have HIRO here, and I don't think we should be silos or differences. I think we're kind of, together. And then we have, CCS here, and that's the Boyd Foundation logo. I took that off the website. I think it's an awesome logo. And CIHR and Heart and Stroke. I know there's 6 rings. In my mind, I was envisioning an Olympic type color scheme, but I ran out of, there's too many bodies. So we have the goal. I think everyone knows what the goal is. And we have, a bunch of different constituents trying to get to this goal. And so they're all over the landscape in the country. And there's more than one way to get there. And we just kind of got to figure out the best way to do it. And I think obviously there's a lot of gears and moving parts, and we just need to kind of figure out how we can share information, work together to be persistently make our goals. I think sometimes in our meetings, I said the George Costanza method, if you just wear someone down enough, they'll kind of get onto it. But this is what I think HIRO and the catch vision could be. This is my team from Vancouver. Dr. Isra is on the right, Maeda and Barb, Sam, Ray, and Ahmed, and I think I left out. It's perfect timing. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.